This is not your grave, but you are welcome in it.
Operation Silent Storm. 8 March 2526. Chi-Keti 4. Prelude. The Spartan IIs are now attached to the UNSC Starry Night, a Razor-class prowler, as part of a mission to board and capture a Covenant frigate known as Radiant Arrow, in an effort to know more about the aliens' technology. The Spartans, consisting of Blue Team, John 117, James 005, Linda 058, Kelly 087. Green Team, consisting of Kurt 051, Solomon 069, Malcolm 059, Anton 044, and Gold Team, consisting of Joshua 029, Daisy 023, Naomi 010, and Grace 093. All perform a spacewalk to board the frigate, entering the ship through the hatch in its hangar by following the flight path of patrolling Banshees. The Spartans proceed to clear the bay using M99 stanchions and M41 spankers to quickly eliminate the Covenant defenders. The group then began to start clearing the ship of hostiles, with Blue Team heading to the bridge, Green Team heading for the ship's engineering section, and Gold acting as support. The plan goes awry when a flight officer aboard one of the prowlers supporting the operation accidentally broadcasts over general channels, alerting the Covenant to the operation and mobilizing the defenders aboard the ship. When Blue Team arrives at the bridge, they eliminate the crew before discovering that the shipmaster activated a dead man switch in his chair, leading to the ship's self-destruct sequence being activated. The Spartans exfiltrate from the ship and are picked up by UNSC Starry Night. Sergeant Avery Johnson arrives on the UNSC Everest, having survived the initial Covenant attack on Harvest and even boarded a Covenant ship, Minor Transgression. Johnson is effectively the most experienced human in fighting the Covenant. Coupled with his experience as part of the Orion Project, Johnson is summoned to a meeting with Admiral Cole and Stanforth, along Dr. Catherine Halsey, where he is briefed on their intentions. With the UNSC navies ineffective in direct space battles against the Covenant, other means must be sought at leveling the playing field. Following the successful prior boarding actions, the intent is to use Spartan IIs to board a number of Covenant crafts and plant nuclear weapons aboard, destroying them before they can be a threat to human spacecraft. Operation. Sergeant Johnson is introduced to the personnel involved in the planned operation. The Spartan IIs, Captain Halima Ascot, the leader of Task Force Yama, and Colonel Marmon Crowther, leader of the ODST 21st Space Assault Battalion. The group formalized the plan, with Ascot in charge of the naval complement and Crowther in charge of the 400-strong ground troops, with the Spartans under Crowther's operational command. With his experience, Sergeant Johnson is to advise the Spartans and help them in learning to work with standard UNSC enlisted personnel. Planet Biko. The operation intends to let Cole's naval forces engage the Covenant with prowlers inserting their troops while the aliens are distracted. If the prowlers get an opportunity first, they proceed with their plan and Cole's group engages the distracted aliens. Meanwhile, a group of insurrectionists meet aboard the frigate Bellicose to discuss the emerging Covenant threat, with several groups represented. The meeting is led by Lorene Castella and General Harper Garvin. The conference eventually agrees to stage a coup of Biko, intending to offer the planet to the Covenant in return for the Covenant sparing the world. Patora Zoyas, the Gao Liberation Force, offers up intel about the Spartans and Operation Silent Storm, gathered from a turncoat contact inside the task force. As part of the insurrectionist ploy, they agree to alert the Covenant to the UNSC plan at Biko and, if successful, continue to drip feed the Covenant intelligence about the UNSC war effort and eventually the location of Earth, in return for their continued survival. To stage this coup, the insurrectionist factions contribute forces to join the Biko Independence Army at a base established in an abandoned ice quarry on the Biko moon of Sioba. Unknowingly, Task Force Yama select the same location to stage their operation, leading to the task force attempting to land at the ice quarry. When they discover the rebel presence, the task force prepares to take the quarry. Against the Spartan suggestions, Colonel Crowther assigns one Spartan to each ODST platoon to carry heavy weapons. The UNSC Ghost Star is taken out by return fire from concealed M41 Vulcan cannons, with many ODSTs killed during the initial drop. Another flight of prowlers take out the insurrectionist communication facility at the top of the quarry, prompting a convoy of civet AFVs to begin transporting a group of engineers to fix the array. The prowlers begin to turn around and retreat, canceling the deployment. Seeing the few soldiers who did manage to successfully land and are now taking fire, John 117 decides to take the initiative against orders and drops out of the drop bay, leading to the remaining forces joining him. With the botched landing, the troops begin taking heavy casualties, but are able to eventually find cover. John 117 forms a plan with Lieutenant Nellie Ham and Captain Zelos Cuvier. The quarry is lined by a mass driver leading up to the surface, with bunkers lining all sides. The Spartans intend to climb the inside of the mass driver and prevent the insurrectionists from fixing the comms facility and leaking the secrecy of the operation, with the ODSTs launching a mock assault to distract the defenders. Winter Contingency Plan is created. 10 March 2526. Winter Contingency was a UNSC emergency plan directive that was declared whenever it was determined that the Covenant had learned the location of a colony world. Battle of Biko. Operation Ice Dance. 18 March 2526. Planet Biko. With Lieutenant Ham and Captain Cuvier agreeing to the plan, they provided Spartan Blue Team with M705 jet tools and C7 foaming explosives to clear the ice blockages inside the mass driver structure. The Spartans crawled into the tube and began to use their thruster packs to ascend up the 5-kilometer stretch. Linda 058 was placed on sniper detail, though she was only equipped with an MA-5B assault rifle. Frederick 104 would follow John, with Kelly 087 bringing up the rear with a rocket launcher. The Spartans maintained a 20-meter separation, though the heat generated was also noticeable on the outside of the tube, with ice plumes rising off the exterior. By the time the Spartans had been inside the mass driver for 8 minutes, they estimated they were 2/3 of the way up the mountain, roughly on level with the civets. At this time, the tube ahead was pockmarked by gunfire, likely from a weapon similar to the M41s from earlier. The gunners were unsure of Blue Team's position and firing ahead of the team to prevent them from traveling further, hoping to bait them into using their rocket launchers and let the gunners know where to return fire. The team noticed that the gunner was firing repeatedly in the same place, indicating he was inexperienced and predictable. To counter this, the team placed thermite cord low on the tube wall, set for 30 seconds. The team then placed the flamethrower against the explosives and set a cord for 30 seconds, using the gaps in the gunner's fire to jump ahead. By the time the team had made it 200 meters, the cord was burning, and shortly after, the rebels fired on the side of the thermites with a missile launcher. It was at this point that Blue Team realized that the plan they had agreed to was not the plan being employed by Ham. Blue Team were being used as a decoy for the rebels, while an additional prowler dropped off another team above. The ODC Battalion attack had taken down the remaining civets, using the logistical comm channel to avoid the deception leaking to Blue Team. By the time the Spartans reached the top of the shaft, Alpha Company 1st Platoon was already planting charges inside the comm center, supervised by Ham. She explained that she needed the civets distracted so that Nieto could drop off the second wave of ODSTs, and that the deception was revenge for John's brash actions at the start of the mission. Once the quarry was secure, the UNSC established their own staging area on the moon. 19 March 2526. The leaders of Task Force Yama gathered to discuss what to do next. The prowlers had been hidden in the quarry, and the remaining rebels had surrendered. The meeting involved John 117 and now Captain Ham reporting their conflict the previous day to Ascot and Crowther. Catherine Halsey and Avery Johnson were also present. The meeting resulted in Lieutenant Commander Hector Nieto letting slip the true age of the Spartan II soldiers, leading to Colonel Crowther refusing to put them on the front line duty due to their status as child soldiers at the age of 15. The meeting ended with the realization that the insurrectionists had been preparing to be attacked, but not by the UNSC. They had been anticipating the Covenant. During the meeting, the UNSC Vanishing Point relayed a message informing the task force that a Covenant flotilla of 5 Corvette-equivalent vessels was on approach to Cielba, with an ETA of 22 minutes. Ascot ordered all prowler crews to scramble and evacuate the surface within 17 minutes. The task force agreed to continue the operation as planned, using the Black Daggers to board the Covenant fleet, Crowther insisting on using the Spartans to guard the 300 insurrectionist prisoners, while they loaded onto the Bansa-class transport Emmeline. The departure of the prowlers alerted First Blade Tel Satulai to the human stealth capabilities, and he resolved himself to capture one of these shadow ships to learn more about how they were able to avoid Covenant detection systems. The intrusion corvettes had a roughly 80% effective cloak system and had thus entered the system undetected, with the orbital traffic around Biko continuing as usual. From aboard the Sacred Whisper, the Singhili ordered the Bloodstar flotilla to open fire on the quarry, bombarding it from orbit in an attempt to shoot down any vessels that may try to escape. The Chancellor's guards would notice this barrage and respond with force, with Nieto estimating they would destroy the fleet within the hour. The bombardment hit the UNSC Starry Night, Ascot's prowler, and downed the ship. By this point, most of the 21st SAB had departed, with the final company in night flight. Crowther denied requests for the prowlers to return to the ground to assist, as he didn't want to lose any more ships. In response, John 117 ordered the insurrectionist prisoners into subsurface maintenance grotto 6M430 to begin boarding the Emmeline. Eventually, he realized that his Spartans were the only ones left in a position to help the downed prowler, and sealed the rebels inside the transport to ensure they couldn't escape. He proceeded to begin assisting, recognizing that if the aliens captured the Starry Night, they could learn everything about humanity, including the location of Earth. The Emmeline then proceeded to depart from the quarry. Without initial clearance from Crowther, the squad set off. Due to the fog in the quarry caused by the earlier battle, it was impossible to see, so the Spartans maintained a spacing of 10 meters to ensure the search was successful. The squad found the UNSC Starry Night impacted into the quarry wall, with an intrusion corvette lowering itself into the quarry to begin salvaging the ship. The mission changed from recovery to asset denial, with the Spartans aiming to detonate the Fury tactical nuclear weapon in the ship's engineering compartment. The Covenant deployed several Ghosts manned by General Hanai to engage the Spartans, while the super soldiers prepared to use their M301 grenade launchers to fire on the Prowler and cause an avalanche. The Covenant ship continued to drop several EVA-equipped Singhili, General Hanai, and Kigyar, while Nieto began using the remaining Prowlers to try to take out the Covenant from the air. The Spartans were able to combine the fire on the area below the Prowler impact site, and the avalanche dropped the Prowler onto the quarry floor, encasing the Spartans in ice. The Spartans freed themselves from the ice and began to engage the Covenant infantry, who were crawling all over the ship. Preparing to board, several more Ghosts maintained position on the quarry floor, supported by 3 more Covenant recovery ships. By this time, Blue Team had made their way inside the Starry Night, and were beginning to arm the nuke, as well as recovering 4 ODST survivors and Avery Johnson. The team, intending to use the ship's escape pods to launch out of Sioba's low gravity to escape the nuclear blast. Nieto's bombing run only served to hurry the aliens, as they began to prepare a recovery device to lift the Prowler off Sioba. John 117 began to attack the aliens on the outside of UNSC Starry Night, killing several Singhili Silent Shadow and Kigyar. The nuke, armed with a 30-second timer, and the UNSC forces inside the ship jettisoned the escape pod, leaving the remaining Spartans on the ground, sprinting away from the downed Prowler. Due to Mjolnir's EMP shielding and Sioba's thin atmosphere, the nuke's area of effect was minimal, and the Spartans were able to narrowly outrun the blast radius before the nuke went off. After the blast, Crowther then returned to pick up the survivors. Aftermath. During the initial assault on the rebel base, the Black Daggers took 127 casualties. Alpha Company lost 52 ODSTs, including Captain Zelos Cuvier. Alpha Company suffered a 32% casualty rate, while the rest of 21st SAB took 6%. Lieutenant Nellie Ham was promoted to Captain of Alpha Company. The initial attack saw the destruction of UNSC Ghost Star, and the later Covenant attack saw the loss of UNSC Starry Night. Battle of Circinius 4, 25 April 2526. Planet Circinius 4. At the UNSC Corbulo Academy, where recruits are being trained to fight insurrectionists, Hastati Squad, led by Cadet April Orensky, trains her squad throughout the compound. Members of Hastati Squad include Thomas Lasky, Michael Sullivan, Walter Vickers, Kyler Silva, Junji Shin, and Dima Chekova. After a training exercise, we are introduced to General Black, and the squad is sent on a double-time march due to unimpressive performance. Later, Cadet Lasky is summoned to Colonel Kennedy Mehefe to discuss his performance in comparison to his late brother, ODST Captain Lasky, who had been lost on a deployment to Jericho 7, fighting insurrectionists. During the squad's last term exercise, Lasky takes command and makes a strategic call, tricking the opposing squad and ultimately winning the scenario for Hastati Squad. Unfortunately, Lasky suffered an allergic attack caused by the continuing blistering from cryo-injections and fell unconscious. Due to this affecting his health, he is given an opportunity by Colonel Mehefe to separate from the academy and be dismissed the following day. Lasky takes some time to think on the offer and talks with Silva. During the night, while Lasky and Silva discuss Lasky's possible separation of the academy, the compound is sent into a high alert status. All of Hastati Squad converge in the academy and place themselves in line to evacuate the academy via the orbital space elevator, as ODST drop pods land into academy grounds. Cadet Dima Chekova doesn't want to wait and jumps the line to the elevator. As her elevator begins to climb, 3 Covenant ships are revealed in the clouds above and open fire on the space elevator, killing Chakova and all aboard, and dozens of others in the fall off the elevator tower, screaming as they descend to the ground below. Suddenly, Covenant drop pods begin raining down and the Academy is under a full-fledged assault. During the initial attack, Colonel Mehefe is killed by a needle cluster along with many others. The group runs into the Academy and hides in Lasky's dorm room. With a firefight ensuing outside, they hear movement outside the room and an individual screaming, and suddenly silenced down the hall. Lasky peers out his door and sees an elite wielding an energy sword, pushing the individual off its blade and quickly going invisible. Hearing it approach, the group decides to make a move to the armory. Chen takes point and the group begins to make their way, but suddenly, Chen stops in the hall, and a secondary invisible elite activates its energy sword and strikes Shen in the chest, raising him to the air and swiftly dropping his body to the ground. The group then scrambles back and runs to the weapons locker. Securing the reinforced door behind them and sending out a distress signal, they try to unlock the weapons. Without success, they are forced to hide as an elite zealot breaks down the door and makes its way inside, hunting the cadets. The group tries to make a break for it, but is blocked by the elite. Vickers sacrifices himself as a distraction, only to be swiftly cut down by the elite with a plasma rifle. The elite then turns to the remaining 4 and prepares to strike. Just before it is able to make its move, it is killed by a Spartan from behind, revealed to be Spartan 117, the Master Chief. The group is informed by Master Chief that they are the last known surviving people on the entire planet. John 117 breaks the weapons locker, allowing the survivors to quickly arm themselves. Making their way to the evac rendezvous, they find a warthog with the body of General Black. While moving to the vehicle, Sullivan is shot by a Magyar sniper, injuring him. Under the instruction of John 117, the Spartan distracts the Covenant as the survivors make their way to the warthog. Securing the vehicle, the group makes their way to the evac point. Unfortunately, they are ambushed by Magyar squads. During this ambush, Kyler is injured, and after the warthog is EMP'd by a plasma grenade, the group is forced to move without the transport, as John 117 notices they are becoming prey to a pair of hunters. Ultimately, Cadet Silva bleeds out from her wounds, forcing the remaining members to leave her body behind. With the hunters blocking their path to the evac site, Cadet Lasky creates a diversion to allow John 117 to eliminate the threat. The group is then successfully able to link up at the rendezvous with a Pelican standing by, where Kelly 087 and Fred 104 are inside. Escaping, the group looks out the Pelican's rear hatch, watching what remains of the Corbulo Academy. Though the attack occurred over a year after humanity made first contact with the Covenant on Harvest, only a select few were aware of the Covenant's existence due to the Office of Naval Intelligence keeping them a secret from the general population. Battle of Mesra, 27 May to 5 June 2526. Planet Mesra. UNSC is deliberately fighting on the planet with the objective of denying vital resources to the enemy. Blue Team, consisting of John 117, Fred 104, Kelly 087, and Linda 058, deploy to the surface, aided by the 24th Marine Engineering Brigade. Unfortunately, Blue Team fails to stop an assault of drones and wraiths, resulting in the team being exfiltrated by the UNSC Night Watch, a prowler commanded by Amelia Petrov. Battle of Netherop, 5 June to 30 June 2526. Planet Netherop. The Spartans are briefed on their next mission, a salvage operation on the planet Netherop, where intelligence gathered from a Battle Group X-ray Wolfpack indicated a downed Covenant frigate called Steadfast Strike. nicknamed the Lucky Break by the UNSC. High Charity. Fleetmaster Nizat Kaverosi is recalled to High Charity for debriefing by the High Prophets. Nizat is blamed for the loss of several Covenant assets: the Ring of Mighty Abundance, the supercarrier Hammer of Faith, and 2 cities previously inhabited by the Forerunners. Nizat, knowing full well that he will be ordered executed by the Silent Shadow, decided to use the Steadfast Strike as bait for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and left a tracking beacon hidden aboard the ship. In this way, he hoped to locate their headquarters or primary research center in order to severely hamper their efforts or outright eliminate Oni. Planet Netherop. The UNSC Night Watch arrives and deploys their troops to the surface, getting shot down in the process. Petrov tasks Blue Team with capturing the Lucky Break, as it is their only means of escape. En route to the crash site, Frederick 104 sees what he believes to be human children watching him. John 117 and the rest of Blue Team believe that Fred is suffering from acute heat stroke and is hallucinating. Later, on the way to Lucky Break, Fred finds mechanical legs, which leads Blue Team to come into contact with the Castoffs, a group of children and descendants of pirate insurrectionists who were stranded long ago. The Spartans mildly injured 2 of the cast-off children and provided medical treatment, while subtly trying to form an alliance with the children. The cast-offs, in turn, tried to negotiate a way off the planet with the UNSC forces. John 117 promises to get them off in exchange for their help. During this time, Nizat is trying to determine the humans' plan when a flotilla of Silent Shadow forces arrives over Netherop to eliminate Nizat and his forces. Nizat believes that the only way for him to be forgiven is to capture a Spartan and return them to High Charity for interrogation. The Spartans, meanwhile, continue towards Lucky Break and stop a Covenant ambush, capturing an Umbra transport. John sends Kelly 087 back to the Night Watch crash site to meet up with the crew and Marines stranded there. Linda 058 is tasked with providing overwatch support for the crew of the salvage vessel that was supposed to haul the Lucky Break off of Netherop. John 117 and Fred 104 enact a frontal assault on the entrenched Covenant forces and drive them back towards the Steadfast Strike, only to discover that the ship has moved. During this time, the Wolfpack orbiting Netherop has engaged the Silent Shadow's fleet of Swift Justice and is preparing for departure. The remaining UNSC forces on the surface are instructed to rendezvous at a landing zone for evac. Due to the size of the Pelicans, Commander Petrov offers to stay behind on the planet. Unbeknownst to her, Nizat and his subordinates are also marooned, with Nizat and his steward, Tam Lukosi, observing Petrov as she cooks a meal for herself over a fire. Lukosi believes that the woman will provide a meal for the ex-Covenant troops on the planet, while Nizat argues that the woman should be kept alive and cared for in the event that she's a gift from their gods. Battle of Alpha Arage, 21 October 2526. Origami Asteroid Field, Alpha Aragi System. A large naval battle between UNSC and Covenant forces, culminating in a UNSC victory. The human fleet consisted of 117 ships and was commanded by Vice Admiral Preston Cole, while the Covenant only had 12 warships. Even with superior numbers, the UNSC fleet lost 37 ships before managing to wipe out all Covenant forces in the system.
How did you find this?
The distress beacon.
Why did you come for us?
You're the only survivors.
In the school?
On the planet.